Joe Guerrero, I'm in insurance. Progress Texas is a group that's fighting for progressive values in the state and trying to create a level playing field for people. There's a midterm, and there will be a midterm in 2 years, despite what you hear. And we just need a few seats in order to get back Democratic control, and then we're going to be able to empower our representatives to place a check on this administration.
It's Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. An outbreak of measles, a disease considered conquered in the U.S. at the turn of the 21st century, appears to be gaining momentum as it springs from a West Texas community with particularly low rates of vaccination. Katie Barber at mysanantonio.com writes that the number of cases in Gaines County has risen from 10 to 15 since yesterday, and the Texas Department of State Health Services has issued guidance on the matter to schools across the state. All but 2 of these cases are in unvaccinated children. Those other 2 in unvaccinated adults. Says here that even vaccinated people aren't 100% protected from measles, as is the case with the more familiar circumstances lately surrounding COVID-19. Vaccinated folks can still get it, but can expect an easier experience and are less likely to spread it. Highly unwelcome news in any case, and I'll go there, a public health and safety threat that arises from the rejection of science. Concerned parents wondering what the threat might be like at your Texas school should have a look at the link from KHOU-TV in Houston in the show notes this morning. There you'll find a link you can use to check the vaccination rate in the school your kid attends. This isn't just a rural problem. The vaccination rate among Houston's kindergartners dropped from about 95%, the minimum the CDC says is needed to prevent outbreaks, to as low as 78.7% after the pandemic. It's now climbed back to almost 94%, still not quite high enough. Dr. Linda Yancey, an infectious disease specialist in Houston, says, quote, "We are backsliding. We congregate students together in schools, which is a fantastic way of spreading viral illnesses. Measles can cause a very severe pneumonia, and it can even cause a neurologic symptom that can kill children up to 5 years after they've had the illness," unquote. You're taking an enormous risk by skipping this shot for your kids, a risk that is both personal and public. Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, the top law enforcement authority in our state, is busy working on what is certainly your top public safety priority, the one that keeps you up at night: trans kids playing sports in school. KERA Dallas says Paxton announced yesterday his demands that Richardson and Hutto ISDs both turn over their policies related to a 2021 state law requiring that students participate only in sports that align with their assigned sex at birth. That makes 4 Texas school districts in Paxton's crosshairs over this, having similarly targeted Dallas and Irving ISDs lately. Paxton is hanging all of this on secretly recorded videos he says he's seen, which KERA has not. Your tax dollars hard at work on super important law enforcement matters. The trans community has become an all-too-easy punching bag for people like Paxton, who are eager to demonize a group of people with whom they've had no personal contact and zero understanding or empathy. And he's hoping to ride that wave of ignorant hate all the way to D.C. Matthew Choi at the Texas Tribune says Senator John Cornyn is likely looking for Paxton over his shoulder as he hints around about a primary challenge in the upcoming midterms. This could explain Cornyn's recent online taunts against his own constituents that look as though they were written by a teenager. Polling suggests that Paxton would beat Cornyn if that primary were held today. An important aspect here for progressives: the Republicans are already jockeying for position for the 2026 midterm election, but I've heard zero about likely Democratic candidates to run for the Senate or against Governor Greg Abbott. Silence. When it comes to guns, there is no too far in Texas. Apparently, Michael Richardson at KLTV in Tyler says GOP State Senator Bob Hall of Edgewood has filed a bill that would hold businesses that don't allow guns to be carried on their property liable for damages that happen because of a crime at that business. The opposite isn't covered. That will be liability for a business that does allow the carrying of guns when somebody gets shot. A moment of rationality here comes from Jason Blakeney, who does allow customers to carry into the hardware store that he owns in Tyler. Blakeney tells KLTV, quote, "It's just the wrong thing to hold business owners accountable for bad people's actions. If you're a business that's okay with people having firearms in your business, that's great. If you're a business that believes the opposite, that's your right too," unquote. And see, there are things we can all agree on. Just as with guns, for opponents of reproductive freedom, there is also no such thing as going too far. Emily Brindley at the Dallas Morning News writes on a watchdog group that's calling on the Attorney General's office to investigate so-called crisis pregnancy centers over concerns that they may be misusing sensitive client information and violating the privacy rights of those clients. These operations advertise social support services, parenting classes, and adoption information. Some offer actual prenatal care, such as ultrasounds, but the primary goal of all of them is to dissuade pregnant women from opting for abortions. The Electronic Frontier Foundation's concern is that while these centers imply that they're subject to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA, regulations designed to protect the private medical information of patients, most of them, in fact, are not. In Texas, these places are funded by you, by the way. Texas has sent over $150 million of your tax dollars into these crisis pregnancy centers over just this year. February is Black History Month, and Progress Texas Advocacy Associate Tatum Owens has put together a great essay on this year's celebration, taking place amidst so much opposition and turmoil, including an extensive list of Black History Month events taking place across the state. Link in the show notes for an important read on Black History Month, this year perhaps more important than ever to understand and uplift. Also in reference to Black History Month, Progress Texas Institute Board Chair Louis Bedford wrote a powerful op-ed for the Dallas Morning News on how trickle-down diversity doesn't work, saying in part, quote, "Simply elevating a few Black individuals to high-ranking positions does not inherently create a more diverse or equitable system. It merely changes the face of power while leaving exclusionary structures intact," unquote. See progresstexas.org. Also in the show notes this morning, a new listing of Black-owned businesses to support from the Austin American-Statesman, including fine operations in Fort Worth, DeSoto, Houston, Corpus Christi, El Paso, and more. Our funding at Progress Texas is rarely sufficient for us to plan much more than a quarter or two ahead, but the conservative disinformation machine has no such obstacle. They're funded by oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups. Our regular everyday listeners form a key component of our funding here at Progress Texas. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to Patricia Smothers, Rebecca Williams, and Beverly Wright, all three of whom are on the team. We appreciate all of y'all. For our Austin listeners in particular, but really to all of you, the Amplify Austin Day season is officially underway as this year's early giving period has started. Look up Progress Texas at amplifyatx.org or see the direct link you'll find in the show notes. The official I Live Here, I Give Here Amplify Austin Day is coming up early next month. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.